Sega.
Yep, it's finally that time again. Hello, folks, and welcome to Deep Thought. I'm the Crazy Even, and today we're going through Streets of Rage 2. And here to help me with that is a person who's much more familiar with the game than I am, everyone's favorite Purple Fox, Mia.
Yay! Hello, folks. I fucking love this game. It's fan-fucking-tastic. Oh, listen to that music.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack. So we'll be talking more about the soundtrack throughout the playthrough as well. But in any case, let's start off by, I guess, explaining our experience with the game. I'll go first. Well, I'll be honest, I didn't really have a whole lot of prior experience with Streets of Rage 2 before recording it. And I did play the 3DS port of the game, though, which was released a couple of years ago. Yeah, that was pretty good. It was had a lot of settings. You could play the original Japanese version or the international version. There were like graphical settings as well, and of course it was in 3D. And,
wow.
Yeah, it really enhanced the experience quite a lot. And other than that, though, I didn't get too far into it, and I hadn't played it since. So yeah, I really didn't know like what I would be getting into when recording this. I mean, I did know it was like apparently one of the best games of all time or something along those lines, but I was like, a beat 'em up being one of the best games of all time? Yeah, sure, yeah. But I was incredibly naive then, and I have since pushed that side of me back into the nether regions of my brain. And yeah, in recording this and experiencing this, I'll admit at first I wasn't quite feeling it, but then I looked into like the controls and the amount of moves that you can do in this game, and just like holy shit, like this game is very deceptively deep. Like, and I found that
combos.
Yeah, incredible. I found that incredible for like a beat 'em up of all things. And again, like beat 'em ups aren't like terrible in principle. It's just like they easily get super repetitive, and even this game can get repetitive at times. But by the end of recording this and like into the end and stuff, I'll admit I really did have a good time playing this, and it is a great game.
Yeah, my personal experience with this game was I grew up with the first game on the Mega Drive when I was young, and so I learned there was 2 sequels, and I never gave it much thought until a few years ago. Then I played Streets of Rage 2, and I was like, oh my god, this game is so fucking sexy! And I fell in love with it, and it's pretty much my favorite Mega Drive game that's not Sonic related.
Of course it isn't. And yeah, it's like there's just so much you can do in this game that I'm not even sure if like a whole lot of other beat 'em ups can do and like maintain like the same amount of excitement throughout. I guess the trade-off is that the game is relatively short. Like you can I beat it in under an hour.
Oh yeah, it's a short game.
Yeah, but like even if a game is incredibly
We're
short,
talking
that really
1992 short. We're talking 1992 length anyway, so it's about as long as Sonic 2 or anything that came around the same time.
Well, yeah, and like it really doesn't matter if like a game is short or not. Like what matters is what you do with the amount of time the game takes to beat. Like the original Portal, that game you can only beat in like 3 hours, but there's just so much that's done in the game that's so memorable and so replayable as well. Compare that with your 100+ hour RPGs from like your Dragon Quest or your Final Fantasies, which I mean they're good.
Your Persona 5.
Yeah, they're usually good games in their own right, but there's like a whole lot more like filler and other stuff that may or may not really need to be in the game, and it's just like hey, we got 100 hours in our game, like you'll never beat it or whatnot. So yeah, like it's really a testament to just like shorter games. Like that's not a problem as long as you do as much as you can within those games. And yeah,
I don't mind. Yeah, like I don't mind going back to replay these short games, you know, quite often because they're short, and so it just means that you play them more often than you would your typical RPG, which you'd probably play like, what, once ever if you're lucky, but maybe if it's like Final Fantasy VII, you might play it once every couple of years.
It's like very good for replayability just because it's so short. Like you'll play it as many times as you want to as well. And yeah, Streets of Rage 2, as you can probably tell, is like heavily inspired by Final Fight, Capcom's Final Fight. And I haven't played Final Fight, but I mean, I've seen like gameplay from that, and I'm not entirely sure. It's very similar, I'll admit that. There's like a lot of mechanics in here that are kind of similar to that. I think there are grab mechanics in that game as well. But like Streets of Rage 2 is like, for the time at least, on consoles, Streets of Rage 2 is definitely the best beat 'em up. Like you had Final Fight on the Super Nintendo, which was like a severely botched port of the arcade version.
Do you want to hear a fun fact?
Oh yeah, sure.
The Final Fight box art and the Streets of Rage box art were done by the same guy.
Oh really?
He even ripped himself off.
Oh man,
if you watch Larry's video on it, it's pretty good.
Oh yeah, good old Larry Bundy Jr. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so Streets of Rage 2 is definitely probably the better choice from back then. And again, even today, it's still really good.
It holds up really well. It still looks good in terms of the graphics. It sounds so fucking 90s and awesome. We'll get to that in a while.
Yeah,
and it's just so much fun kicking ass and killing dudes.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is the first boss. This is the first boss of the game. Even though he'll be like reappearing a lot throughout, because that's the thing that this game does. Like even if
it reuses bosses.
Yeah, it reuses bosses, reuses enemies a whole lot, which isn't. I mean, I guess it's like not a problem at first, but it does.
I don't even see it as a problem. I mean, this dude will appear as an enemy later on, which makes sense because you're getting more powerful and shit. Well, in theory anyway. Like, you don't have any stat growth in this game or anything, just to let you guys know. But, you know, it's just to show that you can kick more ass later on.
Well, yeah, but like sometimes, even with the amount of variety that this game does have, kind of seeing the same thing over and over again, it does like kind of make you think, these guys cut a few corners. But even then, it's like they still did manage to keep it incredibly varied, and definitely difficult as well. Like this is a difficult game, especially in the later stages. It is pretty generous with its lives, though, as long as you're paying attention and like getting as much lives as you can, then you should be able to breeze through this, even with the more difficult levels.
Yeah, that's one issue I had with the first game, is that some of the bosses, specifically the twins on level 5, I found them really difficult to defeat. And so they would just rape through my lives and game over me, even on easy mode. Maybe it's just because I suck, but I never had that issue with this game.
Yeah, there are a few instances of that where there are like two bosses on the screen at the same time. Yeah. I found that kind of annoying, but like it did provide a good challenge.
The twins were notoriously hard to defeat, though. Like, you had to hit them at specific times, and oh Jesus.
Boy. Yeah, I don't remember encountering any instances of that. Although, like, perhaps the final boss, or penultimate boss, I should say, was kind of similar to that, but we'll get to him when we get to him. Oh boy, I have a lot to say about that guy. Yeah, but anyway, we're on a bridge now. Yep,
and we're playing as my favorite fighter in the game, Blaze. There's 4 fighters. There's Max, who's the heavy dude, who's basically a big bulky werehog, Kratos type dude.
Werehog?
That's what I think of when I think of beat 'em ups. There's there's Axel, who's basically your average dude. He's a bit more powerful than Blaze would be, but he's powerful, but he's pretty rounded. Then you have Blaze, who's completely rounded in everything. She has 2-star ratings in all stats. And then you have Skate, who specializes in speed and special attacks, who he doesn't seem strong at first, but when you learn to like play as him, he can really pack a punch.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's one of my more favorite characters, even though it seems like he's like derided as one of like the least best character in the game by everyone else. And honestly, I just don't see it. Like when he grabs on the enemies and just jumps on them and just like freaking wiles upon them, it takes a huge chunk out of their health, and I find it incredibly satisfying.
Yeah. Oh, but this music though, fam. I know we've been putting it off, but Jesus, this soundtrack was composed by Yuzo Koshiro. He's known for the Master System version of Sonic 1, Streets of Rage 1, obviously, ActRaiser on the Super Nintendo, and I'm sure he's worked on other things.
Yeah, he's worked on a lot of things.
And oh, it's so fucking good. It just sounds so... There's very few Mega Drive games soundtracks who have aged well, and you can listen to it and say, oh Jesus, this has the Mega Drive twang to it, but this one, it doesn't really. It just, instead it focuses more on really deep basses, club sounds, which the Yamaha YM 2612 was good at. So it just sounds so 90s. So I've heard it described as R&B, house, bunch of different weird terms like that before, but I love it.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack, and it's certainly a testament to, like, even if the Genesis or Mega Drive, if you're European and you're trash, its sound chip wasn't like the best ever. Like, you could still like make some really good shit out of it, and yeah, Streets of Rage 2 is just like a great example of that. It's a really good soundtrack. There's not a single song in here that I dislike.
Yeah.
Even though like some do kind of pale in comparison to others, but I mean that's fine.
This boss theme that's playing now is actually a remix of the boss theme from the first game, and the final boss theme is going to be a remix of the final boss theme as well from the first game.
And speaking of bosses, like even though we just defeated him in a couple seconds, Jet's like really super annoying, and Blaze, to be honest, is probably the best character to face off against.
She can
him.
do that cool kickflip thing.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next part when we kick more asses and take more names.